How did you be inside a strict military type regime with the sort of expanded consciousness?
Yeah, it made it pretty hard. Made it pretty hard right off the bat. I had that experience within the first month of being in Afghanistan.
Wow.
I was 18. It was my first month in Afghanistan. I had this expanded consciousness. I had no idea what that was. Happened. I just was like, all of a sudden I knew that chasing girls and having a nice car didn't mean nearly as much as I thought it did. That's all I knew. So that was quite a shocker to me. And I really, I was really faced with the fragility of like human existence, and it scared the hell out of me. Totally scared the hell out of me. I saw, and so every patrol after that, I was just so fearful. I was just always so filled with fear and anxiety and worry, because I was like, I'm gonna die here, and I'm not gonna, like, it could be in a really unpleasant way, and like, I don't know, I don't think I got all my ducks in a row. Like, that was the feeling. Like, I don't think I have all my ducks.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Running. Hello and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. So great to be with you again. And I have a delicious person to introduce you to today. His name is, isn't he gorgeous? His name is Jared Bull. He is a two-time Afghan combat veteran who experienced multiple deep awakenings during and after his combat experience. He's traveled all over the world, from the plains of Afghanistan to the mountains of India, visiting yogis, sages, shamans in his exploration to better understand himself, human systems, and how to bring it to peak performance. We're going to talk all about his journey in this, his awakening journey, and his experience that put him on this journey. He's a speaker, professional coach, and healer who shares deep esoteric understanding of the mind and body and the physical world, along with his relaxed style of teaching to help individuals grow, heal, and prosper. Welcome to the show, honey one.
Oh, thanks for having me, Karen. It's so nice to be here. Who wrote that bio? That was really well written.
I don't know, some guy called Jared. I actually I embellished a little bit. Did you like that?
I loved it. You're reading it back to me, and I'm like, wow, that sounded really way better than I thought when I wrote it.
Look, Jared, I found him online, surfing online. I found him on Jannika's show, Wisdom from North. Mm-hmm. We love Jannika. And I get hooked into people's stories sometimes, and I keep watching. And I think Jannika actually said the same about you. She saw you on somebody else's show, and she got hooked in as well. And I just found your story fascinating, and I wanted to share it with my tribe and
thank you.
Beautiful people that watch this show. I really attract the teachers. Even if people that are watching this say, I'm never going to teach anybody, that's just what my energy attracts. Some people attract the seekers, and there's different levels of our life. But I think that anyone that's listening or tuned into these conversations is really here to share their wisdom and what they've come to know with others. And so they're the kind of conversations I have. And you've been on this accelerated awakening journey, which I find is happening more and more today. Like, I'm a bit of an old gal, so it took me a long time to awaken, and and I'm not there yet. I'm still marinating, but some people awaken really quickly, and you were one of them. Do you want to tell us what was happening? You obviously you're in the military.
Yeah, and that's really where it started. I mean, I always had an interest in spirituality and religion. I went to a religious private school with like 100 other kids, where there was it was out in the middle of Amishville, basically. There was Amish people there. I was like the bad black sheep of the family. So my parents didn't send me to public school. They sent me to this small private school out in the middle of nowhere. And it was really, really highly religious. It was highly zealous. It was highly Mennonite. And I just questioned everything. Like, I just remember just growing up, just questioning everything in the world. Everyone's answers, I always had questions, and people gave me these one-word answers, like, that's just how it is, or this is what's going on. And it just never was satisfactory enough for me. And so I would just always ask more questions and questions and questions. And teachers didn't know what to do with me. Like, they didn't like me. The teachers didn't like me because I'd say, why are we doing this? I'd be in literature class or English class. I say, why are we learning this? How is this helping my life? And I was, 12, 13 years old asking these questions, and the teachers didn't know how to respond because they never had to do that. So the questioning really started when I was young, but it really kicked off when I went to Afghanistan in the military, and I experienced death for the first time, being around, seeing death, witnessing death up close. It was such an unbelievable, just such I guess, a numinous, you could even say, thing for me. I remember the first time I saw someone die, he died right in front of me. He got shot right in the head, right in front of me, went down, I knew he was dead right away. I mean, I didn't even have to check him or anything. I just knew he was dead right away. And it was funny, in that moment, up to that point in my life, I was 18 years old when this happened. And when you're 18, you like cars and you like girls. And I had that in my life. I had a nice car, a nice truck, and I was always talking to girls every weekend. So my life was made. For all intents and purposes, it was going great. And when that happened, when he died, the consciousness expanded away from the body. And because I was so close to him, I felt an expansion of my consciousness. And in that moment, I literally saw all the experiences with all the women that I had, all my love for my truck and for just this real material surface existence. It went away in like one moment, just like that. Wow. I felt it leave. I saw it in my mind's eye. I felt the energy leave my body, and I realized, whoa. And then that was really the turning point. And it took me years to understand what had actually happened and transpired on an energetic level for me.
Wow, that's amazing. I get that. Have you ever seen that movie Powder? I talk about this a lot. It's a movie that really impacted me. It's about an albino kid. His mother dies giving birth to him, and his grandparents bring him up. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, yeah, it's a really old movie. You have to see it. And in the end, he dies, but he's like running, and he leaves his body. Basically, the electricity is attracted to him. He has this different energy frequency, and he just expands out, and everyone that's running after him feels that his consciousness like just move through them, and they all, it's just like how you explain, they all go and they're just in this like awe, like, oh my God, like what's happened. So like when you tell your story, I think of visually that image, that consciousness coming out of that body, just like going through you and just opening you up and giving you a broader, expanded perspective. Yeah,
I think that's a great example. I've never seen it, but I really got the images there. That's exactly what like is happening, is just this expansion in the energy. And then, well, with the expansion of energy comes like this openness and the emotions and the thoughts, and it's like something shifts. Something just shifts with a person. And
let me just ask you, I want to unpack this. Like, why did you want to go to the military? What was going? So you're a kid. You just sound like me. If you ever watch anyone interview me, you're just like, I'm insatiably asking people why everything, and I'm driving them crazy. But with all those questions, what was the reasoning behind going into the military? Like, I want to help people. I want to make a difference. I want to save the world. What was happening?
It was at the conscious level, at the conscious and the unconscious level, I guess. I'll start with the conscious first. September 11th really hit me like hard, like watching that and seeing that as a kid. I remember I was in 6th grade, and I just remember seeing that and just being it was probably the most emotional experience that I had up to that point in my life. So I remember just seeing the whole thing, watching the whole thing happen on camera, and I was just crying so much. And I just said, whoever did that, there just needs to be some sense of justice. And then the next year, I think the year after that, or 2000, that happened in 2001. So in 2002 or 2003, we invaded Iraq. And my oldest cousin, who was like the oldest male of our family, was a Marine. He joined as a machine gunner and was on the invasion to Iraq. And so, 2 years after that, the leader of the family was overseas fighting, as a machine gunner and on the invasion to Iraq. So that really had a strong imprint within me. And I said, whoa, he's doing something about this. I want to do something about this. And
Right.
so that was 8th grade year. And then, 4 years later, I guess when it came to my senior year, I didn't really know what I was doing. I had a couple different options, and I just really started feeling that patriotic call to serve my country. So then I joined. I joined when I was 17 years old, and I left for boot camp. And that kind of started the whole process.
Wow. Amazing. Oh, wow. Like when my little brother, he had been contemplating life for a long time. He's in his 40s now. And he decided to join the military too. And his peace-loving mother was like, you can't, the military is all about killing. It's all about war. It's not peace. But in his mind, he wanted to be an officer. He wanted to create peace. And he thought that if he could join the Peace Corps, like go into countries and help. I don't know, it's kind of a mixed up way of thinking about peace, but it makes perfect sense to people who join the military. It's like, I want to help.
Right.
So you join with that good intention, and yet you were on the front line. Tell us about some of your experiences. I mean, obviously that expanding, what did you do after you had that? How did you be inside a strict military type regime with the sort of expanded consciousness?
It made it pretty hard. Made it pretty hard right off the bat. I had that experience within the first month of being in Afghanistan.
Wow.
I was 18. It was my first month in Afghanistan. I had this expanded consciousness. I had no idea what that was. Happened. I just was like, all of a sudden I knew that chasing girls and having a nice car didn't mean nearly as much as I thought it did. That's all I knew. So that was quite a shocker to me. And I really, I was really faced with the fragility of like human existence, and it scared the hell out of me. Totally scared the hell out of me. I saw, and so every patrol after that, I was just so fearful. I was just always so filled with fear and anxiety and worry, because I was like, I'm gonna die here, and I'm not gonna, like, it could be in a really unpleasant way, and like, I don't know, I don't think I got all my ducks in a row. Like, that was the feeling. Like, I don't think I have all my ducks in a row. I'm not ready to do this. So I was very fearful, very anxious the whole time. So I really started becoming more in tune with my own religion at the time, which I professed to be a Christian then still. And so I read the Bible a lot. That gave me a sense of peace and comfort while I was there a little bit. And then I made it through that experience, and I had a lot of friends and a lot of close friends who didn't make it back from that experience. And so I got back, and then, dealt with, kind of started reading more, getting really interested in religion, world studies. So I was always reading on the side. Then I went back to Afghanistan a second time, and I did not want to go back. At that point, I had started, it wasn't on a political level yet. It was just on a personal level. I knew that it just didn't feel right to me anymore. I had so many experiences in Afghanistan where I realized that I had the feeling that we weren't doing the right thing. Like, we were the bad guys. Like, we were the stormtroopers, and they were the good people, and we were invading them. And so I had that feeling the entire time I was over there. And then I got back, but I had to go back a second time, and I wasn't going to back down because, all my friends were still in, so I didn't want to leave them out. So I kind of just sucked it up and did the second deployment. The second deployment wasn't nearly as bad, and I actually got put in a better position where I wasn't fighting. I was actually like a project manager, and I was working with local village elders and mullahs, helping build projects. So I was working side by side with these people. So I got to know the Afghani people on a much deeper level than just like fighting with them and telling them, you can't go through this checkpoint or anything like that. I really got to develop a deeper relationship with the people in there in Afghanistan, and that really moved me on a deeper level. And then when I got back from my second deployment, everything just started coming out. I was like, okay, something's definitely not right here. We are wrong, they are right.
Right.
You know, and all the psyche, all the stuff that I had to bury started coming to the surface. And that's really what introduced, that was in the beginning of 2012 when I got back from my first deployment. And that was when I realized, okay, something else is deeper here. That was really when the spiritual realm started flowing into me, because I was having
Knocking.
right, started knocking. Exactly. I was having sleep paralysis. I was having like what I would have said then as demonic entities like showing up in my bedroom at night, and I wasn't sleeping. I was having out of body experiences, and I was just fully facing it, you know, facing the energy of people that I had killed. And I was just like, this is not good. And it was just it was like the first part of the awakening. And so I went on medication and started taking it that way, and that didn't work. So I got right off of that within three months. And then I just started really exploring. I got out of the military in 2012, went straight into college, and felt very separate from everyone in college. Naturally, you know, I'm a 22-year-old in college, and I feel like I don't know anyone there or relate to any of the college students. And that's when the exploration really started kicking off as well, and kind of getting into deeper levels.
Let me ask you, did you feel alone in this, or was it happening to other people like in the military? Were they going through their own crazy, or
Yeah.
did you like talk to anybody about what was happening? I know psychologists just drug you up. That's what they do. But what about your peers, you know, like were they?
I think that's a great question. So, yeah, a lot of my peers were going through similar experiences, but they didn't take the time to understand what was happening to them. You know, I had a lot of friends, you know, 3 since I've been back, who have committed suicide, because
Right.
a lot of them go through deep trauma, and they don't know the spiritual perspective of it, and they have nothing else, so they just get caught and locked up in the despair and the darkness, and they don't know how to get out of it. So they just cycle it through over and over again. And so I was seeing this, and I said, okay, I need to be the first person to stand up. And I actually wrote a letter to the military, my chain of command, saying, I'm done. I'm not, when I got back from my second deployment, I was supposed to train 26 new Marines in how to machine gun. And machine gunning is an art. You can make anything an art, but you take the Marine Corps, and then you take a machine gunner from the Marine Corps. They take a lot of pride. Like, I went to advanced machine gun school. Like, I spent 6 months in school just learning how to shoot really well. So it's an art. And they were like, I had the most experience at that point in the unit to teach machine gunning. So they said, you know, we want you to train up all the new Marines. I said, no. I just wrote them a letter. I said, I'm done. I'm not going to teach men how to kill. I don't believe in it anymore. I wrote them this 3-page letter explaining to them everything, all my experiences, saying I morally didn't agree with it anymore, and that I would not be teaching new people how to machine gun and kill.
Makes me cry when you say that. You know, I have a memory of being a kid. I've been in war. I've been in war in past lives, not in this life. You know, I came in as a busty blonde in this life, wasn't going to war, but I've got this memory. And I remember as a kid having this thought, if they try and make me go to war, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. But you know how they've had subscription, like they were never going to have subscription in Australia. But I don't know, I had this memory. If they try and make me go, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. Isn't that funny to have that as a kid? So, So, wow. Okay. All right. So what did they say when you said, I'm not going to do it? They just said, fine, go away.
Yeah, so that was real scary for me. But when I stood up and said that and started reaching out for help, and at that point I said, you know, I need to be seeing a therapist or something like that, I just totally came forward, which is highly unlikely for people in the military. Usually guys just self-destruct. You know, they commit suicide, or
rather than ask for help.
Right. They start drinking.
Right.
I was the first person to like actually help, and so they were actually like really shocked, and they didn't know what to do. But they were supportive. They were actually surprisingly very supportive. They said, okay, we understand you're like done. Like, and I had served so well. Like, I was always a leader though. I was always I think that's what was shocking for them, because I'd always been a leader. I'd always been really good at my job. I took a lot of pride in what I did, and I just told them that it just wasn't a part of my value system anymore, and I couldn't do it anymore. And so coming from that authentic integrity place, I think whenever you come from that place, people, it's like, even if they want to disagree with you, like they almost can't, because they feel it. They feel the alignment within you. They feel the authenticity. So when I did that, a lot of other guys started coming out and saying, we can't do this anymore either. So it kind of started this interesting chain reaction before I got out. And yeah, it was incredibly powerful, I think, for that to happen. The military hadn't seen that before, at least not to my knowledge.
Cool. Okay, I want to talk about, a lot of people hold on to a lot of guilt for what they've done in their life. And you look like somebody who's done a lot of stuff and you've really come to peace and moved beyond it. How did you do that?
Oh man, a lot of therapy. A lot of therapy, a lot of different alternative therapies, and just it kind of just blasted me into the non-dual state of consciousness, hands down. I don't look at the world in a dualistic lens at all. I don't look at it good and evil, completely open to both. I just follow whatever the alignment feels with me, whatever feels right to me. And I say, okay, this is good and this is okay. I'm going to go with this. And if I don't know what that is, because I still get put in those moments where I'm like, this is a blurred line for me, then I just go with it. I just trust whatever's happening. So I guess really I think when you self-reflect enough, you transcend that duality consciousness. When you're in that non-dual consciousness of just seeing the world play out, the yin and the yang, the light and the dark, you just got to walk the middle path and the middle way. And most people don't know how to do that. They know how to either be bad or they know how to be good, and they identify with one or the other. But I think to be able to walk in both worlds is really, really unique. It's needed because you definitely keep things in balance. Like I can meet really, really unbelievable, amazing people, and then I can meet and come across just unbelievably dark people. And I don't hang around the unbelievably dark people. I don't hang out with them, but I'm not scared of them either. And I'm not scared to go into those places with them. Yeah. So.
I know. Yeah. Because, yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had a discussion before, you and I, amongst the sort of new age community, there's a lot of people on, still playing out the right and the wrong, the dark and the war of the light versus the dark. And we're here on the side of the light, I'm a light worker fighting the dark forces. And, there's like the Corey Goods in the world. I actually love Corey Good, but there's that whole sort of like the reptilians are controlling us and the cabal and this and, and like there's a whole kind of fix it attitude.
Yeah.
Which is very engaging and very hypnotizing, really. And because you feel like you're on the side of the right. But this side of the right is what every war is about, right? So every person who's fighting a war is on the right side.
Right. That's exactly it. And that's what I realized, reading everything. I just realized everyone's living in their own little circles. And they're so determined and engaged in saying that they're right that it's like not helpful at all for the world. Like the best thing you want to change the world, lock yourself in a room and just meditate for at least 2 hours a day. You'll change the world much quicker. Like you don't need to go save it. You don't need to go, I'm not saying that those things aren't bad, developing drugs or whatever, like, vaccines or, that's great. I think that's wonderful. Quickest way you can save the world is just by locking yourself in a room and not moving and learning to be still within yourself. Because then you embody that energy and you take that energy out to the world, and that stillness embodies in other people, and then they're just not frantic. Like, so anything frantic, no matter if it's a good cause or a bad cause, I just stay away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you said you reached that place of being outside of duality, you saw that all the bad crap that happens to us is actually good too, because it pushes you, it like challenges you, it stretches you, it awakens you, so we have that choice in that moment of experiencing drama and contrast, to be swept up in it and be a victim of it, or to use it as a understanding of who I am and what's capable and what next and what more. And so there is no good and bad, there is only experience. Like that's living out. I just wanted to just expand on this living outside of duality, because a lot of people don't understand what that means. And I think when you reach that point, life is just so much more enjoyable because you stop fighting the good fight, right?
I think, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, fighting the good fight is tiring, it's exhausting, it's never ending. And yeah, I think that's great. I think when you get caught up in that whole state of consciousness, that, getting back into that duality, it's not, you don't contribute anything to the world. I mean, you do in one sense, but you don't, what the world needs right now is peace.
Mm.
It needs peace. It needs acceptance. It needs understanding. And you can't bash, someone over the head with a sign, no matter what righteous message is on it, and come to peace. Like if you want peace, live peacefully. If you want love, be loving. It's that simple. I mean, I'm pretty sure Christ said this. I can't think of the exact words that he's saying, but you just live it. Like whatever you want to create in the world, you live it. That's how. Like there's no lag time. Like there's no time whatsoever. And when it comes to trauma and having these traumatic experiences, for me, I'm really I go through moments of extreme gratitude where I'm just like, wow, because I extract the wisdom from those experiences, which is great. But I still go through times where it's incredibly painful and it's incredibly dark. And, I go through that layer for 20, 30 minutes. Like I had it this morning. Like this morning, I just laid in my bed for 30 minutes and just cried incredibly deep, because I'm still, even to this day, I'm still processing the emotions of that experience. It still comes up. And so, I feel that, I process it, I allow it to be, the sadness, the despair, the darkness, whatever it is, but I fully embrace it and I fully meet it. And, but also I was like dancing around my kitchen for like an hour and a half, because I was like, this is just great. Like I love being alive right now. So it's like, so you just embrace both fully. And when you embrace both fully in life, this is the interesting thing. You tap into your soul, you tap into something way deeper than most people ever tap into. And for me, that's my mission. It's showing people through sharing my story or speaking or coaching. The coaching work that I do takes people unbelievably deep. It just pulls their soul out of them, just allowing you to tap in with a feeling, on a feeling level, into that part of you that is indestructible, that cannot be killed, that never actually manifests fully in the physical world, but is like behind the scenes. And I think that's, earlier you were talking about this consciousness expanding out and going into other people. And that's really, really what happens when I do the coaching. I can see it. I'm just fully present with the person. And I just pull them into a space unknowingly, like it just happens with my energies now, pull them into a space where they're like, I don't know what people tell me, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know how to process this. They'll say that sometimes in the moment. I say, it's okay, just be with me and trust me, and create that safe space for them to go into that place of experience within themselves that's indestructible. That's where we all need to go, because if we get one little taste of that, I think we can do anything. I think we can be so much more bold and live a much more meaningful life.
Absolutely. I'm getting this image. I heard someone say this online, and it's something that I've heard many times from people that are not incarnate, that when we're back on the spirit side, as Garnet likes to call it, when we've gone back to non-physical, we come from this realm of unimaginable, infinite, exalted wisdom and beauty, and there is no duality there. And so from that place of expanded awareness, we create these agreements with each other. And I know that like you've seen people killed, and you've killed people in war, and that was like an agreement that we all had from that perspective. There's like no victim and no persecutor. There's like agreements. And, I've heard it said that the one that agrees to be the persecutor is actually coming from a greater sense of love than the one that's playing the victim, because who you are as love, to take yourself away from that, to actually hurt somebody else, is a lot harder and hurts more than to be the victim. And so those agreements that we have before we come, that it is with great love that the persecutors make those agreements, that I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to harm you in some way, while we're dancing around in those physical bodies. And is that how you came to terms with, the killings that you saw? Like that was all like a sacred agreement?
Yeah, that's great. I think at one point I did, like I came, because I've totally read up on that perspective and it was really attractive to me. I think at one point I definitely did. And then it got to a point where once I kind of integrated it, it was kind of it was even beyond that too. It was just like, okay, this is just like the divine playing out.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not against that view, but it's just, it's just, Oh, what was the word that you used?
Lila, the play.
The play of form and just playing out. And it's like, who am I to argue with it?
Yeah.
Who am I to argue and say, this is not right? Like that's the arrogance, I think, of humanity, is we argue with it and we try to say like, oh, that's wrong. That's horrible. Oh, that's righteous. And then it's like, no, like, who are you to argue or put labels on how the divine wants to show up through you or through other people? Right. So it really put me in that state of humbleness and gratitude, as hard as it was, as hard as it was. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay. So, you've had, as I said at the beginning of this accelerated awakening journey. And one of those experiences that you had, excuse me, was this Kundalini awakening. I was talking to my little tribe online about this and they're like, what? What's a Kundalini awakening? One of them Googled it and went, because she had this kind of experience. And I said, oh, it sounds like a Kundalini awakening. And then she Googled it and it was not like what she saw online. But do you want to talk about what happened to you? What was happening to you?
Yeah, sure. So about 2013, I'd been in a year in the school. So I got out of the military in 2012, late 2012. I went right into school. I spent a year in school and something didn't feel right. I was an anthropology major. After my experience in Afghanistan, I loved learning about other cultures. And I was like, whoa, you can grow up with a whole different worldview of the world. Like, what is that? Anthropology. So I really liked anthropology, but then I wanted to make the switch and write about my experiences and put it into a story. So I just got the intuition to switch to become an English major and quit for one semester, or quit for, one semester. So I quit school for one semester. I took one semester off. I locked myself in a room and I just wrote. And I said, I'm going to write this book in 9 months. It's going to be like crazy. It's going to be awesome. Well, when I did that, about 3 months into it, I was sitting at my computer. I was writing about some of these intense experiences and trying to make sense of them and bring a political perspective in there as well. Like I was really like fully invested in this. And I was sitting there at the computer and all of a sudden I felt this thing at the base of my spine and this energy shot up my spine and out my head. And I felt it and I was put in this trance-like state right away and my computer screen went completely out right in front of me and the light went out in front of me, both of them just totally black. And I was put in this trance state and I just intuitively knew that I had to get outside as soon as that happened. So I ran outside, hugged a tree. I had no idea what was going on, but I just felt like that was the right thing to do. I didn't know at the time. I was trying to ground the energy. I had no idea what was happening. I was like, what is that? And so I started searching it online. Like I've always been the person, like if you want to do something in life, you just do it. Like you research it, figure out how to do it, and you go out in the world and you do it. It's not hard. It's pretty simple. You just got to have the willingness to do it. That's all it comes down to. So I was like, well, I don't know what that was. And so I started researching, came up upon Kundalini and said, oh, okay, so this is a Kundalini experience. And I was like, oh, what's this going to be like? And then that really just started it. Spontaneous kriyas, spontaneous yoga postures, spontaneous pranayama breathing. And it didn't matter where I was. I could be in class and I would start spontaneous pranayama breathing. I'd be in class and my arm would be over like this, or I'd be doing some crazy like mudra or something like that. And I just let it play out. And I was just like, this is weird, man. I'm like totally, if I didn't feel different enough from everyone in the classroom, that just took it to a whole nother level. So, yeah.
Can I tell you something? After we took, because obviously you and I got online a week or so ago, chatting away, Yogananda turned up and he's been hanging out with me ever since. And he made me watch Awake Again, which is
Paramahansa Yoganandas.
Paramahansa Yogananda, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's laughing when you talk about this, like he's here. And he's just totally laughing when you talk about this. But
it makes sense that it would be him too, because he from the West, him coming over from the East and just being like, what is this Western world? And for me, I was living in the West as Western as you could get, like military takeover, expansion, imperialism, and then this Eastern thing kicks in, and I'm like, what is this? You know?
You know, I really believe that all of us on this planet will experience some sort of Kundalini awakening, because all of us are going to go through our awakening period, even if it means leaving the body. We're all going to awaken, you know, some in the body, some out of the body. But some people just kind of do it faster than others. It's depending on your plan, you know, your soul plan,
Right,
what you're
right.
here to do, what you're here to experience, what you want to experience while you're here. I think that someone like you who's here to teach, he says,
Is that what I'm
yawning.
here to do, Karen?
No. Go on his YouTube and watch him with the whiteboard, teaching away, teach.
I literally, I don't know what I do from one day to the next. I just, okay, this is what's coming through, and okay, I'm coaching this client, I'm reaching out in this way, and I follow it each day. And, you know, one day I was like, okay, I'll get a whiteboard out, and, you know, so.
Well, you know, like, I think that you've been through so many incarnations in this one life. If you look, like, I stalk, you know, when I speak to people, I kind of stalk their Facebook page, and I was looking at photographs of you, and I'm like, wow, you don't even look like the same person from one photo to the next. It's kind of like you keep morphing. It's like you're living this, it's just such an accelerated life. You keep living these different personalities, or maybe there are different aspects of your soul walking in, but it's shifting what you physically look like. And
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, yeah, it's nice to get that confirmation, because I see it and I feel it. And in one sense, it's very frustrating, because there's parts of me that's like, dude, I don't want to work on my internal self so much. I just want to, like, you know, I'd like build a business. Like, I would love, like, and I still plan on doing this. Like, I want to build like $1 million plus business where I'm helping people and loving what I do. And I'm already like doing the coaching work, but I have bigger plans around that. But I'm like, you know, if I'm changing all the time, like, am I really going to have time to, you know, to build this stuff on the external world? And I do. I'm learning balance, and it is happening, just kind of interesting.
ooh,
Not in the way that I thought it would be.
Okay, so something that Yogananda was talking to me about, which is something I've contemplated as someone who's out there making a difference in people's lives and trying to make that a business and, you know, to survive doing that, right? Because wouldn't it be easy if money just wasn't a part of our reality, and we could just share of ourselves, and it, you know, we wouldn't have to think about actually charging anybody anything? I mean, wouldn't that just be great, right? Just the money would come. So you look at people like Yogananda or gurus, and they don't build a business. People just sponsor them. Like, I was watching that documentary on him called Awake, which kind of chronicles his life. And there were just like these business people that were attracted to his work that just threw lots of money on him. And he built houses and ashrams and centers, and, you know, and I'm just kind of like, it can be so much easier than, you know, charging per session. You know what I mean? It's like, embody the energy of your mission, your plan, and just allow that sort of that energy to come to help you do what you want to do.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's really the thing that I'm struggling with right now, because I'm like, well, do I do nonprofit? Do I set up my own nonprofit? How exactly do I want to do this? So right now I'm just doing it the first way, just to see what that's like and play with it and experiment. I'm just going to test it out, because, you know, just test it out, really.
Yeah. Okay, so after the Kundalini experience, like, more expansion and empathy, feeling everything was like crazy for you. Like, how were you coping with being this incredible empath where you could feel everybody's thoughts? And
Yeah. So, well, then, you know, I got to a point where I couldn't, I had to take a break. I had to step out of the world again, because I stepped back into the college world, and I was living so much in my mind, because I was just so fast. I was so obsessed with reading everything. I loved knowledge. I had a thirst for knowledge. Then it got to a point where I was like, this isn't doing anything. Like, I have so much information, but I'm not doing anything with it. Like, it changed my mind, but that wasn't what I was looking for. I didn't realize I was looking for transformation again. And so I almost married a girl who I deeply, deeply loved. And then of course I healed. I moved away from Philadelphia. That's where I was going to school at the time. Moved to Pittsburgh, moved in with this girl, had another deep healing experience within 3 weeks of moving there, and realized that we weren't supposed to be together anymore. We were no longer energetically aligned. And that was really rough and took me totally by surprise, because I just sold my motorcycle to buy a ring at that point. So I just sold my like really nice motorcycle to buy a ring, and then, you know, have this healing experience 3 weeks later. And if anyone knows me or spends time with me, I don't spend time dilly-dabbing around. So that night she knew something had shifted, and I looked at her. I said, we have to have a talk right away. So sometimes I move quicker than I actually is better than my own good. And so we had a talk, and then that was when and then we ended up breaking up about a week or 2 weeks later. And I was totally devastated by that experience, because she was the first woman who had just really, really loved me. You know, I grew up in a very narcissistic home. I had a lot of unconscious anger that drove me to the Marine Corps as well. That unconscious anger was driving that service and that combat way of fighting. And so she was the first person who really just deeply loved me and supported me. But I realized that we were just at different stages in our life. She was 22, had only ever experienced her town and, you know, her sorority. And that was as big as her world got. And my world was, you know, I'd killed people, I'm integrating all this, and now I'm, you know, like just so much more. And I realized that in terms of longevity, it just wasn't going to work out. And that broke my heart, because she wasn't even in a place to understand that. She wasn't even in a place where she just kept saying, why are you breaking up with me? Don't you love me? And I said, you don't realize I love you so much, but I'm seeing that this isn't actually going to work out. Like there's the realness of love, but then there's the reality of longevity and where we're both at in our lives. And it's just not going to work out. It's just going to be hurtful for both of us. And so I carried that burden for years, knowing that I loved this woman so deeply. She opened me up in such an amazing way. And then I couldn't even share with her the reason why I was doing that. So that was just totally blew my heart open. But that was the thing. That was what it was meant to do. It was meant to break the heart open even more into the world. You know, like people look at Heartbreak, and it's like, you're breaking your heart open to the world, you know, beyond just one-on-one intense relationships. Like, how can you be that with every single person that you meet down the street?
Oh, I want to repeat this 100 million times. Because, you know, so many young people, and I was one of them. Oh, you know, when your heart breaks, I remember when I was 18 and I broke up with my first boyfriend, the hurt. And I remember thinking, hurt more than when my mother died. How could it hurt more? You know, and but it breaks you open. It breaks you open. Like my daughter still suffers over the breakup of her first love, right? And no man matches the love, the innocence of first love, that first, you know, I love you so much, I'll die for you type feeling. But it's not personal. It's not between a man and a woman. It's not about you and me, or her and me, or him and me. It's about love. It's about us. It's about service. It's about love, you know, like we get so caught up with this romantic thing. It's about you and me and against the world. It's about you and me against the world. It's about being one with that love that is the world. Oh, I'm on my soapbox now, honey.
No, that's exactly it, Karen. That's exactly it. And I tried to explain that too. I said, this is way bigger than me and you.
I know.
That was what I said. I said, this doesn't mean I don't love you. This is way bigger than me and you. And stepping into that was a whole nother level of hurt for her, you know, it brought out her abandonment issues and some other her insecurities. And it brought out for me just this deep love for everyone. So I needed to take a break from everything. I said, I need to take a break from Kundalini awakening. I need to take a break from school. I just need to get away. And so I went to India, and I just was like, I wanted to meet some higher energy, just something. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know my direction yet. I didn't know my path. I just knew that I wasn't supposed to be in school. At that point, I had one semester left to finish, and I was 2 months into the semester before I graduated. And I literally couldn't hold it in anymore. Like I had no idea what was happening. And so I broke up with my girlfriend. I left school. I was like nearly suicidal at one point for 30 minutes, just sitting in my closet and just being there and sitting with this. I said, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know what has happened since day one, since I've been here. I remember I always held up the AK. Like I always had this, the AK-47. It's like the typical, it's like a gun. It's got like the wooden buttstock. It's like what you see all of the foreigners using in movies.
Right.
So I always had I bought multiple AK-47s. I collected them because it was the weapon that it's a guy thing, but at the time it was like, it was the thing that tried to kill me the most amount of times.
Right.
So I had this collection of AK-47s and I hung them up on my wall, and it was a reminder that like that thing couldn't kill me. It's like one of the most popular guns in the world. I mean, it's an amazing piece of engineering. And so I collected this thing, and I remember after I broke up with my girlfriend and I left college, and all this stuff was happening. I just went into my closet, I grabbed my AK and I loaded it and I just put it on my lap, and I said, I just have no idea what's going on. I was like, God, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have no idea what this is about. And I just felt all of the pain of everything, the pain of not understanding, the pain of confusion, the pain of war, the pain of breaking up with my girlfriend. Just felt deeply into it all. And I just sat there for 30 minutes and just wept over my gun. And then after that, I got up and I sold all my weapons and sold all my military stuff. And I knew that identity was just kind of dying and leaving. That's all it was. It was that identity coming up to the surface and saying, you don't need me anymore. Like, I'm dead to you now. And so it came to the surface. I felt that fully. People don't realize that when people get suicidal, it's actually like can be incredibly healing, and they don't realize that it's just an old part of us dying and getting ready to leave.
Transformation.
Yeah, shedding of the old skin, shedding of the old layers.
But at the same time, as that part of you leaves, you say, it's been fun. Thanks for dancing with me.
Right. Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, it's not pleasant by any means, so I totally agree with that.
But, like to resist that old part of you, like so many of us say, like I even see amazing spiritual teachers today, go into the like, I used to be a terrible person and feel so guilty about who they used to be. But, we all used to be less than we are today. And had we not been that person, we wouldn't be today, who we are today. So you've got to bless that part of you. You've got to bless, you've got to bless the selfish, angry person that you used to be, and just like, it's been fun. Thanks for the dance. Like you say, the Leela, it's all part of the experience of this earthly existence, that play, that Leela. Yeah. So, your story is amazing. I'm loving this. Go on.
Thanks,
You're making me cry and laugh.
Oh, good. Yeah. So then I had that experience, and I said, I don't know what's going on, but I just need to experience something totally different again. I just knew I needed to experience something totally different. So I went to India, traveled around. It didn't feel right. And then I found these yogis, and I don't know if you've heard it. Have you heard of the Isha, the organization Isha, Sadhguru? He's a pretty big spiritual teacher on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
He's amazing. He's an amazing person. And I came to his ashram, and the energy was the highest I've ever felt. Highest I've ever felt. And he had lingas all around the ashram.
So what's a linga for people that don't understand what a linga is?
A linga is it's like an energy form. It's like a little mini statue is what it looks like, and around it, it's a charged energy form that works on the chakras. Right. We have the chakra system, and so if you're lacking in the ground chakra, you would go to like a ground chakra lingam or a ground chakra ashram, and you'd spend time in there, and then you would see that you feel less anxious and less worried. Think about it. It's like energetic hospitals, right? Where you get your tune up energetically.
God, do we need more of those? I tell you, I wish every hospital was an energetic hospital. But anyway, go on. Yep.
Absolutely. Totally. Yeah. So I spent 6 months here just sitting. Some days I would sit 7-8 hours in front of these lingams and getting my energy just really worked out in a powerful way. I just knew that was the next thing I needed to do. And so, we get my energy fixed on and worked on. And, there were places in the ashram where, like the yogi's wife had gone into Mahasamadhi. Are you familiar with what Mahasamadhi is?
I've heard these names, but you know what? I don't kind of tune into the whole Indian thing. I went to India and spent some time there. When I came back, I decided, as beautiful as India was,
never again.
Well, no, we need to have that spirituality in the West. Like, we have to stop looking to the East, You know, we need to
Right.
formulate the same understanding in a Western understanding, you know, like, and make it relatable and make it to the Western culture and mind. So I kind of left the whole, you know, I've stopped reciting the mudras and, you know, like left the whole Indian thing behind and started having conversations in a very Western, you know, language.
Totally.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I don't remember what Mahasamadhi is. Samadhi means to, anyway, tell us.
So Mahasamadhi is when the yogi realizes that, okay, I no longer need this physical body anymore. Like
Right.
you raise your energies to a certain peak, and literally the energy system that we really are, that taps in and uses the human body to have a physical experience, the energy goes too high that it can't stay in the body. It's like it's a peak level and it checks out.
Right.
So Mahasamadhi is when a yogi makes a conscious decision to leave the body. So it's a conscious death. It's literally
a conscious death. That's what I'm going to have. That's what Yogananda did. And that's what I want to teach everybody. You know, we don't have to suffer to die. We don't even have to get sick to die. Getting sick does give you an excuse to exit because, you know, life becomes less enjoyable. So you're like, I'm out of here. But because we get very attached to our physical lives, you know, like, stop doing that. It's making my neck hurt.
That's why I'm doing it. I'm like, God,
I know. We both got sore necks. Anyway, so a Mahasamadhi is what you call it when you check out, consciously check out. I like that. Okay, cool. Yeah. So what were you going to say about it? Who was doing that?
I was just going to say the guru's wife who helped him set up the whole thing, she left her body in a place in the ashram, and there, like when you go there, you literally just feel, you sense an explosion of beauty, you sense an explosion of blissfulness. It's like exuberance. That's the best way, blissful exuberance. And I would just meditate in her energy and I'd feel this blissful exuberance, and I allowed that to integrate into my own being. And so I spent 6 months there. Yeah, I spent my whole time pretty much there in India in this ashram. And then when I came back, I said, all right, it's time to get into it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's just time to get into it. And I started a blog and I started a YouTube channel, and then I moved across the country to Colorado, and I came to Colorado, and I built a course on empaths that's like awesome, that just blows every other course on empathy out on empaths and how to manage with subtle energies out of the water. And then people started reaching out to me, and then I started doing coaching work, and now I'm trying to work more in the business world. And now I'm doing coaching full time, and it's I call it coaching, but really it's a form of therapy. It's mixing esoteric principles. People who come to me who have no idea about any of this stuff, don't know what's happening to them. They just experience these amazing shifts, and they're like, what did we do? You know, like, I don't understand this. What did we do? And then I'll explain it to them if they want to, but most of the time they just feel that shift, and it's so great.
I know. Here's the thing about being a coach or a healer or a teacher or whatever label you want to put on yourself, a difference maker, a light worker, a helper, a supporter, is that it's all about the frequency you inhabit. Like when you expand your frequency, people come into your field and they're having their Kundalini awakening, their DNA activations, you know, like you know, it's happening. You don't actually have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. You just have to work on yourself. And
that's exactly it.
Yeah. So it can be that simple, right? And
totally. If you could just embody the presence, like you raise your vibration and you learn to just really be with someone out of the mind, that's the best transformation you can offer someone. Because energetically, that just goes right onto them. And so that's what I do. Sometimes people come to me, they're living up here in the mind, they're speaking rapidly, and I'll just, okay, let's get back into the body, and I'll get them back in their body through an exercise, and then I'll do an energetic transference. I had one client, Bonnie, recently. She had a home invasion 13 years ago, and so she never felt safe in her body. She never felt safe in her own home, so her energy was blocked around the Manipura. So when we came into contact, my energy, I could feel hers. It was all tight around the stomach, my tightened stomach. My stomach tightened up, and so I said, hey, Bonnie, it's going to stop everything right now. Let's drop into your stomach. Can you place both hands over your stomach, and we'll get quiet. We'll just drop into that. And then I just started speaking to the gut, speaking to the stomach, saying, hey, you know, where in your life are you living outside of your power? Where do you feel fear? What happened to make you feel this tension, this tightness in your stomach? And then it just opened up and exploded. So what I do is I feel the person's energy. I feel where the blocks are energetically, and then I speak to those parts of the body and I bring them up. But the most important thing you can do, because no one's going to open up to you unless they feel safe. So you just have to create an incredibly safe space and really have the highest intention for people.
Yeah.
People aren't used to that. No one's used to that in the world.
I wouldn't say nobody. There's a few of us.
Right. There's only a few of us who actually, I think, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, you're right. That's a big generalization. A lot of the people that come to me, I guess you could say, I work with, they come to these.
Yeah, the people that you're experiencing. Well, that's very much the West, isn't it? Don't trust anybody,
Right.
It's like me and you against the world. It's like we just have so many messages of this separation, instead of this connection, like don't talk to strangers. I've got a friend who wrote a book called Do Talk to Strangers, because it's like some stranger, if you're a little kid, don't talk to strangers, they might kidnap you and kill you. It's like, we're just marinating in fear in this environment, right?
And it hits up on our news too, and people watch the news and they don't realize that if you consume that energy, you become it. That's what I tell people. I say, whatever you consume physically, you become. Whatever you consume mentally, you become. Whatever you consume emotionally, you become. It's that simple. And so take word and note and be mindful of whatever it is that you're consuming mentally and physically, emotionally. And that's what you become. It's just that simple.
For people watching this, you probably noticed that Jared's been yawning and cricking. He's going through another one of those upgrades. He's going through another.
I know. I'm looking at myself and I'm like, wow, I actually look pretty exhausted right now.
No, you look fine. But, this is what these upgrades can feel like. We are also so hypnotized into thinking that any sort of physical pain we have in our body means that we're going to be dying of cancer. I remember I got this explosion in my gut one day and I thought, damn, that doesn't feel good. Like that. So I went off and spent all this money having CAT scans and MRI scans and all these scans and blood tests, make sure I'm not going to die of cancer. And there was nothing wrong with me. Like, damn. So, it's really great to, as you've just said, to ask your pain or your depression or your frustration or your anger or your tiredness, what are you showing me? What are you doing? Like, and just sometimes tiredness just makes us stop out of the busyness of the mind and just lets us just come back to the now, really, back to self, exhaustion. Like you can't do anything, you can't think anything, you just have to be in the moment, right? When you're exhausted, you just have to be here now. So rather than thinking that I'm exhausted because I've done this or because this happens, but it's like all symptoms or all pain is guidance, right? It's all just your soul speaking to you through your body or through your emotions or through your energy systems talking to you. So listen.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be your soul, it could be the soul of another person. Depending on where I'm going, I'm tapping different parts of my body and I don't even know why I'm doing it, but it's just controlling the flow of energy, the flow of life. And that's all like a yogi knows how to do, is they just know how to control the flow of energy through them that creates the physical. So like your body, I look at it as literally like a remote to how you want to experience. We just don't know that. We just think, I got to do this, I got to do that. But you tap certain parts of your body and activate certain experiences for your life. It's that simple, because it's just a flow of energy. That's what we need to learn. That's what we need to learn, how life flows through us on the inside.
When you say these energy hospitals, that's a dream I've had for the West. I think that you've got a similar intention to sort of bring the wisdom of that Eastern and make it digestible to the Western mind and make it more mainstream within the Western culture. Because, I remember listening to Deepak Chopra years ago, being brought up in all, marinating in energy and chakras and meditation, and then going, I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. I want to go be a doctor, right? I want science. I want, and went and studied at university, became the top of his field, and then became full circle, came back to the whole Eastern philosophy, and now he's that guru,
Yeah.
So
I think if we can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what the West needs to understand the flow of energy, but in a way that maybe doesn't necessarily use Eastern words, to make it different to who we are. Like,
Right.
we need to find a language and some words to explain what they've been explaining for, thousands of years. Yeah.
Right. I totally agree. I think this is at least my bigger vision plan after I do the coaching work in the coaching business. Who knows, it might happen sooner than I anticipated. I met a man, Mark Williams, who's running for congressman here in Colorado, and we met a couple nights ago, and it was really interesting. He's already kind of doing this work, so maybe it'll come quicker than I think, but I'd rather not. I'd rather just do what I want to do, but that's not really how this process works. I'm realizing more and more.
Gotta go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Right, exactly. And so, what Mark has really done is learning to control the internal states, your nervous system, and control the flow of energy through certain practices that are, thousands of years old. He spent a lot of time in training, and he's trained combat veterans and other people. But then what I'm looking at is like, how can you combine that ancient wisdom with technology? And
Exactly.
that intersection is really interesting to me. So I really love investigating consciousness technology. I don't have time to do it right now. I'm not doing it right now, but one of the long-term things that I see is using, consciousness technology, such as like meditation tables. Like there's this guy, I think he's in Arkansas. He runs a company that just builds and sells meditation tables, and he's got like a PhD, and he's all sciencey about it, but he shows you how you can change the brain states, alpha, delta, beta, theta, epsilon, just with a flip of a switch. And so if a person if they're not sleeping well, you just lay down on this table and you put them in a brain state of epsilon, and they go super deep, and then they wake up 2 hours later and they've had like a full night of sleep. So just the idea that I've had, and I don't like talking about my ideas too much because it tends to start happening way quicker. But my idea for it would be to bring all these technologies, consciousness technologies that have hard studies on them, and make it a location where people can come, and it's like this combination of consciousness technology and physiological manipulation along with like the energetic perspective possibly. But I don't even know if there's a crowd that exists in that space. That's why I moved to Boulder. That's why I got called to Boulder, though, because Boulder is very progressive. It's open. Google just moved in here. Google just started a building, but it's like awakened to a sense where it's open to these things. Like it's not like I could walk into Google and say, hey, I'd like to run a meditation mindfulness workshop. And they'd be like, yeah, we'd love to see what you have to offer.
Yeah,
so
they would.
I feel like I'm right smack dead in the middle of a location where it's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. First, I got to coach all the businesses here and make relationships with all the big businesses here and coach them and create that intimacy and show them that deep relational work. And then once I get that, then I'll probably ask for donations, and that's probably what's going to happen.
It will all unfold. It'll all be perfect.
Right.
It'll all unfold. From this linear mind perspective, it's fun to be on the journey and have the not knowing, because it's kind of like we can say, I look forward to for you to show me how this is all going to unfold, because if you've got all the answers, it's not a fun ride, right? It's like the end of the movie, so you don't sit through the movie. So
yeah, that's exactly it. For me, it's it used to be a mix of terror and anxiety, but now it's more or less just like I'm just dropping into a space where I'm like, I can't even be scared anymore. I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to spend money on the things that I know I need to spend money on, work on the things that I know I need to work, and just trust the whole process. And that's really the space I'm kind of dropping into now. Don't really know any other way of living at this point.
Exactly.
Just trust and give and work. Trust, give, and work. That's it right there.
Trust,
and work, and work in a good, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's a good way. Like you just, okay, I don't know necessarily how I'm going to approach this, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Keep putting yourself out there.
Okay, I want to get into the empath thing, because I know there's a lot of empaths out there that are really struggling, because so many people fall victim to their own empathic abilities. And this is when they drug themselves up or kill themselves, because they start to feel so sad. We live in a pretty dense environment where we're marinating in fear most of the time. And the thing about it is we become so acclimatized to that sort of frequency that we don't even know it. One of the authors of the book that I just put out, Scarlett Lewis, I'm donating the proceeds to her charity, was when her son was senselessly murdered, that she hit this knowing that all her biggest fear had been realized. And she had what she called like an embodied life review, where she looked back on her life and saw how so much of her thoughts had been fear-based, and we become so acclimatized to that fear that we don't even notice that we're in fear. It's just like becomes normal, right? But to an empath and to people expanding their empath, they start to feel it really, really strongly. What would your advice be to empaths that are like feeling all this fear around them and they kind of become overwhelmed?
Right. Absolutely. And I'm just giving you a heads up too. I got about 10 minutes here. I'm fading pretty fast.
You're fading. All right.
Really
10 minutes left.
I'm enjoying this, but I'm just fading too fast now. So when it comes to the empaths and what they're doing, the best thing that they can learn and realize is whenever those energies come in, it's literally just an energy, and you can choose to allow it to come in, or you can choose. So they think they got to block off. They do all these mirroring techniques, all psychic defense. Not what you want to do. You want to take a judo perspective. Have you heard of the thing judo?
I have heard of judo, yeah, but I don't know it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So in judo, you use all of your opponent's energy as the mechanism for allowing that energy to go through you. So for instance, if someone punches you, you turn, you like go with the punch, but you don't let it hit you. You turn, you grab the arm, and you use their forward momentum to throw them over your shoulder. So you barely use any strength, but you move everything around you. This is what the empath needs to learn. This is what I learned how to do with energy. And this is what's most helpful for the empath. A lot of empaths, they do all these mirror techniques, all this crazy shit that doesn't actually work because it takes a lot of energy to hold up something, or hold like, oh, I got to hold up, imagine a mirror or imagine a block or something like that. It takes energy to hold that up. What you do is fully embrace the energy, fully allow it to come in, see it come in, see the negative thoughts, see the negative emotions, and allow it to flow through you as quick as possible. So you see it, you notice it, yep, there it is. Is this mine? Nope, it's not mine. Okay, and there it goes. And that just takes practice. For me, and even in my course that I sell on my website, I have exercises where you're supposed to go out in public and you tune into your energy. You say, okay, yep, this is my energetic signature. This is me. And then you tune in consciously into the world around you in the crowd. And you say, oh, okay, this is the crowd. And what that does is it gives you an understanding of what your energy is and what your energy isn't. A lot of the empaths who look at empathy as a disempowering thing or a double-edged sword, they're like, I'm so sensitive, this is great, but at the same time, I feel everything, I'm overwhelmed, oh my God, what do I do? They're in that space, and it's really easy to step out of that space. First, the best thing that you can do is recognize what's your energy, start practicing that, go to a crowded place, tune into your own energy, see what your energy is, and tune into the crowd around you, see what their energy is. And then once you get that distinction between your energy and the energy of the crowd, that won't mix up. And so then when that energy comes in, you're like, that's not my energy. And you allow it to just go right through. But what happens is sometimes the energy can be so overwhelming that it just starts playing out through the empath, and the empath gets like energetically hacked by the other person, and they don't realize it. So the first key thing is developing a present day awareness of knowing when you get energetically hacked, feeling that, and then going back to your authentic self. And you can even say, like I say a mantra sometimes. I don't do it anymore, but when I first start working with empaths, I give them a mantra, and you say, higher self, show me where my authentic self is. It's called the authentic self meditation.
Nice.
And what that does is just when you run that track, run that program or that thought through your mind, your energies will contract into your authentic self and who you really are. So you can be in these really deep, dark places, but your energies are contracted into this safe space. And the energy just goes right through you or goes around you. You won't even feel it. So I always, I say, develop a present moment-to-moment awareness of when this energy comes in. As soon as it comes in, say, okay, seeing it come in, this is not me. This is trying to play out through my body, through my being. authentic, higher self, show me where my authentic self is. Continue to say that until you get to a point where you don't feel that energy anymore.
Higher self, show me where my authentic self is. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, the thing about being an empath, because I was one in my 30s, is that it just forces you to go on this personal growth. You raise your frequency. You just have to sort out your negative thinking or your subconscious negative thought. You have to, because you can only really feel the vibration that you're a similar vibrational match to. So if you're vibing in a higher frequency, you're more happy, you're more connected, you're more in that place of love, you can understand and sense that other frequency, the negative frequency. But just like you say, it doesn't stick. You're not attached to it. It doesn't hurt you. It can kind of move through you, and you can be you're unattached. You're unattached to it. And so you have to raise your vibe. And that took me 10 years to figure that out, because I kept going to gurus saying, how do I protect myself? And they were saying, Archangel Michael, golden lights, giving me all this. But the only way I could protect myself was raising my vibe. So that mantra, higher self, show me where my authentic, that actually raises your vibe. That's a beautiful mantra. I love that.
It just shifts, and for me, it shifts your focus, because like I said, wherever your focus goes, energy will start flowing there. Right. So that's why people watch the news, and then they blame the news for all their issues in their life. They tap into that energy stream. So if there's a bad energy stream that's coming in and you have your focus on that, then you're tapping into that energy. You are joining in the river of that energy. Exactly. So all you do is just shift the focus back into your authentic self. And
beautiful. I love it. Oh, darling one, thank you for being with us today. I can see you're fading, and I could talk to you all day. Isn't he gorgeous? Isn't he gorgeous? You love him? I just think he's gorgeous. And we're going to hear a lot from you. I'll be excited to see where else you take things. You're a bit of a superstar in my books. I want you to put a chapter in our Awakening book. You still up for that? I'm going to call you on. So we could get this, we could just transcribe what we've spoken about today and put it in, because it's, it's brilliant. It's just, your awakening is just talking about Kundalini and war, and it's just, it's amazing. You've lived 16 lifetimes so far, and you're still a kid. Anyway.
That's what it feels like.
So tell people who are listening to this on audio where to go to find more of you.
Yeah, so if you want to find me, you can find me at mysticeye.co, https mysticeye.co. And my brand is changing to transformationalcoaching.co. However, if you still type mysticeye.co, that'll take you to the new website. And you'll be able to see my YouTube channel, what I do there. I do live streams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I break down a whiteboard, and I go into things like, how to get over your fear, or how to understand your fear of rejection, or just really all those deep everyday life questions that we have in the back of our mind that we never give time to. I go deep into those. I break it down Barney style with a whiteboard, and we go deep into it. And I just share with you my experiences, but also the experiences that I've had with some of the clients that I've worked with, and how to best navigate those hard times.
Beautiful. Sounds fantastic. Right. Thanks, honey. And, we'll see you again. We'll chat another time, but we'll let you go, because it's late for him now. It's morning. It's nearly lunchtime here in Australia, but it's late over there because you're on the East Coast. So
yeah, thanks so much, Karen. I really appreciate you having me. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
Well, what do you think of Jared? Isn't he gorgeous? I tell you what, I turn off the recording and we start yakking. And we talk about things like we're going out there, more cosmic, woo, flying around the universe, talking about all this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, damn, I've turned the recording off now. I wish I'd recorded it. But I think I will have the gorgeous Jared back on the show, because there's so much to talk about with this man. He is just a light. He's a light unto this world. And, I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you have any questions, ask underneath on the YouTube, or send me an email, or talk to Jared. He's very open and happy to talk to you. He's going through a bit of another transitioning process at the moment. He's only 28. Isn't that gorgeous? He's going through another shift in his world. So I see him being really busy. I see him being so busy one day that you won't be able to email and talk to him. He'll just like have all those PAs doing that. But yeah, so he's available to talk to now while he's still young and available. So beautiful. Thanks for watching. And remember to get the book. Jared's actually going to write his awakening story in the next book, the Awakenings. I think I'm going to call it Awakenings, Personal Stories of Transformation. So it's just generic about, we've got a pretty full quota at the moment. I'm waiting to see who actually gets their chapter in, because judging from the last book, it took a long time to get all those chapters in. So we'll just see who steps up to the mark to put it in the next book. And so there's people that have had awakenings, through war. That's amazing. Through illness, through, just through reading and questioning. And there's many ways that we can awaken. But, this is the book that is the one about death. So remember to go out and get that on Amazon. Sorry, a bit of indigestion. Available on Amazon and Kindle. People have been asking me, is it available on audio? It isn't yet, because that's kind of expensive to get it up on audio. And until we actually cover the costs for the first one, I haven't got the money to make it audio, but I'm hoping to get it up in an audio version maybe next year or towards the end of the year. And so many things to do, so many ways to share the love and spread the message. And if you'd like to meet any of the people that we've had on the show, I'm going to invite Jared into the Inner Sanctum, actually. Join our little Inner Sanctum tribe. I call it deliberate creation for the New World teachers. And let me tell you, these are not New World teachers that are out there standing on stage inspiring lots of people. These are people who know they're difference makers. They're having experiences themselves. They're asking a lot of questions like Jared did. What happens? What's happening to me? What's happening to me? What's happening to me? Someone like me who's been through it all, I can sort of say, well, this is my understanding, but then you have got to come to your own understanding. And then they're sharing these experiences with others. So that's what a New World teacher is, someone who's got the courage to go through this awakening experience, to become reconnected or more connected to that essence, that love, that aspect, our source, that higher potential that we are, can focus their energy, focus their thoughts, and know themselves as powerful, deliberate creators, and then show others how to do that as well. We're all in this together. We're all here to inspire each other. So if that sounds like you, join our little Inner Sanctum tribe and become part of our little group. And thanks again for watching. Love you all. Bye for now.